Hello jelly fans! I promised you to make a collage of some jelly prints I made during the last few projects and some other objects that I still had. This is a collage I started but didn't finish as everything went a little wrong here. I will use those collage pieces still though by cutting them out. This is the metal scraper I wanted to use as well, and I can tell you it is not as easy as you might think to find a good idea of how to combine things in an interesting way. First, I wanted to make something abstract, but couldn't get inspired to come up with a motive. I had this sheet of linen that I had placed some rusting objects on and left it in the garden for a few months. The objects have given off quite some of the rust onto the fabric. It is easy to do it yourself. If you don't have anything rusting in your household, just get some stuff from your local rusty iron dealer and let it rot outside on some cloth for a while. Because of all that rusty look of the scraper and the fabric, I felt reminded of my street art on rusty background that I have made a long time ago. I still like the look of the stencil I made from a photo, a boy on the beach carrying a shark on his back. And no, it is not a dolphin. These backgrounds are made with the stuff from the art store. You probably know it. It is a great medium. I also put one shark boy on an old wallpaper from the 70s. As the stencil finally deteriorated after all this stenciling, I just printed out my shark boy with a laser printer, and I'm going to print the boy again on some silk or rice paper. I don't have a larger printer, so I have to combine these two A4 size papers by placing them on each other and finding the right fit and then taping them together. This is the Chinese rice paper I want to print on. I'm using the Liquitex Black acrylic paint, which is very good for gel printing, and rolling it out in a thin and even layer on the jelly plate. Placing the shark boy face down on the jelly plate. You don't have to press in very hard or very long. And I'm taking the paper off now, and you can see it's quite a good print. But I have to be very quick with the rice paper because it is quite warm outside, and the acrylic paint almost dries immediately. All the little wrinkles you see here, they are wanted. I use the rice paper because of that. And I was still too slow. It didn't print some parts of the tail and the shoes down there. But that's okay, I can live with that. Cutting it out with an exacto knife, you have to cut carefully as the rice paper naturally tears easy. And here comes the big challenge of where to place the objects, where to place my main motive. Is this a landscape in the back? If yes, what do I put on it to add to the landscape look? I really have to say I'm not sure that the collage making is for me, but I'll try my best. So I cut out some pieces of the mishap collage, and what you see on the left is the Graf Teufel. It means Count Devil, and I love it. It's a box of a cigar it's the lid of a cigar box, and you just take a graphite pen, a broad one, and rub it through to the Chinese paper, and you get to see the writing. I'm just showing you briefly here how I've done this. It is called a frottage, by the way, and it always reminds me of my school days in art class. And the other piece is a bit of a gift wrapping ribbon that I use to take off the excess color around the corn weed. So, going back and forth, back and forth. Nope, I don't want it there. I want the foot in front of it. I want the rusty scraper there. No. I want the Count Devil over there. It's terrible. I sped this up so not to strain your nerves too much. But note that I made the ribbon and the Count Devil and the other pieces in a sort of a triangular form, which is always good if you want to have a certain perspective in landscape. And here are some other prints that I didn't do anything with yet. And this one is a stencil print with a human figure, which I like very much. I'm sorry, the camera went off and you can't see how I cut these shapes out. But you'll see in a bit how I cut the second shape out. This one. Now I don't want the human shape to be visible anymore, and so I just cut some pieces out, and the turning of the colors into each other is quite interesting, and I want those rock-like shapes to go behind the shark boy. Here's a little intermezzo. These leaves I let dry, but I made a mistake of not putting them between two papers with a heavy weight on them. So if I would make them flat for the collage now, they would probably break and deteriorate. So I'm using some matte medium, and I soak them with it, and also some rice paper, and I'm gluing it on there. And this is when the moisture goes into the leaf, it's flexible again, and it works really well. And I'm doing this with the second leaf, and then I'll leave them to dry. I'm really happy I don't lose them, because I so like the pattern that shows now in brown and beige. And they are basically dry now, and I cut them out, leaving them on the paper. And it's really nice. It's still a bit tacky, but not too much, and it's very flexible. So the same game again, placing the object somewhere. There's a little bit of bark I have there, which I end up not be using at all. And also these leaves that I'm so proud of, I end up not using them because they are too light for my liking, and I didn't want the background to have these light objects. But I'll use them in another collage. I'm inking up the Gelli Plate again with the Liquitex black, because I had the idea maybe the shark could be in a different color. It was too much tone in tone, the whole thing, and so I printed another shark boy, but basically I'm only using the shark shape now, and I put this older print the blueprint of a jelly plate that I made. This is the back side of the blueprint, and I'll print only the shark. And it turned out to be not such a good print, so I'm still taking the outlines from the original stencil. So, cutting the shark out. And I really like this. The complementary color with the orange rusty color is really nice. But first I have to glue down my main motif. It is very transparent, that rice paper, and it will get even more transparent when I use well, in this case I use a Mod Podge, but later I'll use the matte medium, which is also like a glue. First I'm gluing down this little piece, because the shark boy has to go on top of this one. I would recommend using the Mod Podge or some other heavier glue for the heavy papers, and for the transparent rice paper and other thin papers I would use the matte medium. And this is why I use the Chinese rice paper. I really like that it gets even more transparent, and you can see the background through the boy. It's very symbolic, isn't it? Meaning that man is not as important as the nature around him. You can also use the matte medium on top of this paper, smoothing it out even more. It's colorless anyway. And I'm only gluing down the parts of the body, including the hand up there that is on the shark, and I'm cutting out the rest. I'm cutting out the shark to not to interfere too much with the blue paper that's coming in now. And I have to say it was a good a decision with the blue paper. I really like all those structures you can see in there. If I had like weeks of more time, I would probably enhance the patterns on the blue paper a little more with a pencil. Have to add a little bit to the nose, as it was not in the blue paper anymore. And the same thing with the back fin. I'm speeding this up again because I still had to decide where all the other stuff goes. So this is a quick overview of everything I did. I don't know, I think that was at least an hour. And this is roughly how it ended. And well, I was not really convinced, but I thought I'd just leave it at that. The only thing I want to do is add some outlines of my main subject with a fine liner. Now this would be the final piece, but I slept over it and found I wanted one more patch of the blue color and cut out one of these feathers of an older jelly print and placed it in there. And what can I say? The Count Devil had to go. So, what do you think? Is this totally overloaded and confusing? I like it, but probably have to sleep over it again. And I would love to know your opinion. Leave me a comment and see you next week.